Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Mark Highland. I'm the Sales Operations Director at Nuvola. We're going to run through today a short session with Ribbon, and basically we're going to talk about some tools and some solutions and some technology that will enable. Most people have moved to the cloud in some way or other. But we see there's a fantastic opportunity with Ribbon and their technology to be able to give options and flexibility to you as resellers for your customers. So we're really quite excited about the technical Ribbon product. The Ribbon product for us is one of three products that we are going to focus on, and we call our core technologies. And I think in some of the slides I'm going to show you, it will become obvious why Ribbon is so key to what we as Nuvola are doing. So I'm just going to spend a quick 10 minutes, probably less, on an overview of Nuvola for people that are joining us that don't know who we are. Really quick. And then, as I say, we're going to get into the really good bits with Andrew Vlodek, who's the country partner manager for Ribbon, and Rob Fitter, who's the senior sales engineer at Ribbon. And the guys are going to go through who Ribbon are, but more importantly, what the solutions and the technology and the opportunity is. Questions and answers. So we're going to have that at the end. If we can do that at the end. All of you guys, as attendees, are on mute. There was a question and answer button down below. If you could go on there and type in your questions, what we will do is we will at the end we'll look at those questions. So any questions at all that you've got, type them into that section. There's also a lovely on this application. There's a lovely little reactions button. So please feel free. If there's something you like, big thumbs up, or something you find funny or something, do the smileys. So let's make it a little bit interactive, and these icons will fly up the screen as and when you do that. So we've got no problem you doing that, yeah. So let's move on. So next slide, please, Rob. So Nuvola Distribution. Some of the services we're offering, and we do offer, we are obviously as a distributor, a value-added distributor. But our pedigree and history has come from services. So we started as a service business, white labeling services for resellers, for partners, and we offer. And then we moved into more value-added distribution based on our service offering. So a slightly different way. Most distributors do it the other way around and try and add services on at the end. Our foundation and background in history is based on the services. We offer normal stuff in sales and marketing, point of sale and demonstration support, of course. We have a UK presence, which is where most of our resources, both the logistics centre in Ireland for Europe, and of course we're based in just south of Reading. And resources all over the UK. We've got global logistics and we've got resellers all over the globe. Yeah. So next button, please, Rob. We're seeing that this migration to the cloud is in most of the large organisations. They have a cloud strategy or a cloud. Their business is already in the cloud. What we're starting to see though is there are still large estates of old technology, dare I say, and my background comes from some of that old technology. And what we're seeing is that some people are still wanting to retain the old estate, the old on-prem stuff. Some of them are still using ISDN. With 2025 only a year away, we're seeing that migration. People are still are going to have to move into some form of SIP capabilities. But then we're also seeing that people want options. Not everyone just wants to go with one UCaaS solution. Not everyone wants to move away from their on-prem. And the hybrid concept is becoming very much more important. So we as a company have got lots and lots of skills and capabilities in the UCAS and the CCAS environment, but we're moving. But the Ribbon product fits right in the middle of all this and enables everything to talk to everything, and to enable all of this hybrid environment. And this is why we talk about beyond the cloud, and you can mix and match and do everything you want with it. Another slide, a couple of builds. Design and discovery, pre-sales for us, again from a technical point of view, that's where we've always been successful in the products that, you know, where we've had greater success, is where there's a technical capability, a knowledge and a pre-sales capability, and we've invested a lot already into the Ribbon, and we are going to continue to do that with Ribbon. Yep. So design and discovery, and helping you sell and implement these solutions. Asset migration services, again, I talked about that with ICN Sunset. Still a lot of estate out there, a lot of customers out there that are still using that. And then we've also got the professional services, of course, different types of capabilities, and we've, you know, that's we're adding that, and that's where we came from, and also support services. So that's what we do. We're a focused distributor, and yeah. So next slide, please, Rob. So this is really what, at the moment, we're talking about the modern workplace and collaboration capabilities. So we've got disciplines or areas of expertise. The UCAS space, unified communications, that typically is the old on-prem, but also all the other capabilities. And we also see connectivity and infrastructure fundamental for all of this cloud stuff, because you ain't got a cloud if you ain't got some infrastructure or connectivity. So that again is really, really important to us. We also, as a business, have quite extensive resource and capabilities in the contact center, and we put AI in there because I think everyone's using AI, but we are starting to see that the AI capabilities is affecting all parts of our business. So these are the main areas and disciplines, principles that we're working on. And then all of this is is supported and wrapped up nicely with our professional services capabilities. This slide is a slide we're not using so much, but this is basically the different disciplines, and you can see the products that we have. So as a distributor, we're very focused. There isn't a large amount of product in there because a lot of them are duplicated in the different spaces. The one that I brought out is Ribbon. You can see Ribbon's in the intelligent networking, in the connectivity space. It's in the unified communication space because it enables to connect all that. It's in the cloud environment, and of course, it's in our professional services. The only one we haven't got it in is in what our meeting room solutions. Yeah. What it does do though, it's the glue that glues all of these bits together. And at the moment, we believe that Microsoft Teams is the dominant collaboration tool, and so again, that's where we see things going, because most people, even if they go for a Room Central or an 8x8 or whoever, and still want to use their old on-prem PBX, typically they want some sort of connection or capability with Microsoft Teams. And all of these things glued together and working together is fundamental in a lot of enterprises, not just the large enterprises, but also in the small environments. And so, again, Ribbon's really, really important to us. Just trying to look at my notes to say, yeah, so that's where we are, and that's coming out in 10 minutes. So I think if we're the next slide, Rob.
It's over to me, Mark.
But to you, I'm going to mute and shut myself down.
No worries. So thank you, everybody, for joining and echoing Mark's sentiments and comments there. I'm Andrew Vlodick. I work for Ribbon Communications, and I think a really nice intro is to some of those who don't know us. I'm looking down the list. There are some very good friendlies that we have there, but also some new partners that we've not seen before. So just take a minute to run over who we are and where we play. So Ribbon is a collection of different companies, is probably the best way of describing us. So right from the very outset, there's two companies behind the business. One's a formidable company known as Nortel Networks. When Nortel Networks, the largest global telecoms company, went Chapter 11, that IP, that customer base all came into a company called Genband. And Genband were providing solutions predominantly into carrier cores. So companies like BT, companies like Verizon, Vodafone, and across the globe providing those large solutions. And in 2017, there was a company called Sonos in the background who again were providing carrier core solutions, but also had an enterprise play in providing SBCs, connectivity, gateways, all around the Microsoft portfolio. So right the way back to the very early days of OCS and LCS, if any of you guys can remember those days. But in 2017, it was deemed a good merger. Why was it a good merger between the two companies? Well, Monopolies and Mergers Commission said that the Genband portfolio needed updating, the Sonos portfolio was very fresh, virtualization was very prominent, and we started driving in through an upgrade campaign. It made us a very formidable organization in that we now control around about 92% of the globe's tier 1, tier 2 carriers. So if you're connecting to a network somewhere, it's predominantly a Ribbon network. This could be BT, it could be Gamma, it could be TalkTalk, it could be Colt, it could be AT&T. These are all Ribbon customers today. Behind the scenes, though, when we did merge, we discovered that JPMC, JP Morgan Bank were financing Genband, and effectively through the merger made available a war chest, and off we went on an acquisition trail. The first organization we bought was a company called Edgewater Networks, #1 in enterprise SBCs, predominantly used by companies like AT&T, Comcast throughout the US as tail end devices for their services. So these were built into their service offerings. The next organization we purchased was a company called Nova Data around mobile analytics, and we'll see later how that fits in the portfolio around our analytical and fraud platforms. And then quite recently, back in 2020, we bought a packet optical company called ECI. Now you might think, well, that's a really strange sort of thing to be buying. Well, if we think about the 5G, the evolution of 5G, and we talk about IP backhaul, and we talk about those carrier core networks, it complements very nicely into that historic base. And that, in a nutshell, really is how we've evolved into what we call ourselves as Ribbon today. Where are we? What do we do? Well, we have a global presence. Okay, we run 24-hour services, which is expected by our carrier core customers. And it's a fundamental point that we bring that service level right the way down to the enterprise. So you have a true follow the sun 24/7 support services. Now that's a peace of mind. If you know something's going wrong with a customer of yours, they want help quickly. We're available, and we make that help available to you as part of our partner network. Certain things that we can offer as well to bolster up your initiative. So we can offer things like education services. We can run into network analytics if you need us to do those for you. We can start to manage your NOC for you. But the real peace of mind is there. We're there to help you when you can on a global level. And that's a really key point that we work with. Now, who do we work with? Who relies on these kind of services that we work to? Well, the portfolio is quite extensive in terms of the partner base and certainly the end customer base we have. All the way from the telco mobiles, which again, our legacy portfolio. So again, we've mentioned some of those names, BT, Verizon, Vodafone, Gamma, TalkTalk, but then also some of these MSPs or the multi-system operators. So, we're talking more in terms of the Vodafone, the Virgins of the world. We're running networks for them. We're also enabling partners into becoming MSPs, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on. But predominantly, we cover across every vertical you can possibly imagine. We're very strong in things like utilities. We're incredibly strong in government and education. We work with the Department of Defense in the US. We work with the MOD in the UK. We're driving solutions into them as well. But we cover every aspect in terms of that. Now, you might think to yourself, well, actually, it's all well and good that you're providing solutions. But what do these solutions look like? What does the market look like today? And more importantly, what's the opportunity for me as a partner in today's world? We've seen the world change very quickly. And we're realizing these enterprises are now waking up. And they're waking up from the traditional PBX on-prem. They're saying, actually, I've heard about the cloud. I want to move to the cloud. I've heard about virtualization. I want to move to virtualization. What's Teams? What's Zoom? And, we had a discussion not only the other day where a partner was sat there going, he's just seen an enterprise and they are confused because they're seeing all this bombardment of UC in the cloud. Is it ring central? Is it 8 And what they're asking the partner to do is consult and be the trusted partner on them. But what we're saying really is, where is that opportunity? And that opportunity in UCaaS is growing, because what the analysts are saying is that 6% of our enterprises today have migrated to the cloud. Wow, that could leave potentially 94% of those enterprises yet waiting to be discovered. And certainly in terms of that migration point. And what does that mean as well? Well, when people are moving into that kind of arena, it allows endpoints to grow, it allows meeting rooms to grow, so the opportunity suddenly rises and rises. What is this in real terms? And when we talk about in real terms with the big players today, we talk about Teams, we talk about Zoom, we talk about WebEx. Very soon there will be another little one there from Google, because Google's coming in strong with their chat offering, but towards the end of this year. But let's take a look at the numbers. So the numbers in terms of Teams, these are daily users. 300 million daily users are using Teams. Of that 300 million, only 12 million are actually using the phone system service. Okay, that's growing on a year-on-year growth. If we look at the WebEx, we're talking about 250 plus million users, which surprised us as well, because that's a big number. But only 7 million of those are actually using the WebEx phone service. And Zoom, again, the dark horse in the back there, 300 million users of 4 million. What does this mean? It means the market is changing. The early adopters have moved from the enterprise side. It really portrays the opportunity. And this is really interesting. If you look in terms of a team scenario, 12 million users, 300 million users on a daily basis using Teams, but only a fraction of them are actually using the phone system. They may already have the license. They just need to put something in there to connect it. They just need to switch that on somehow. So it really, describes the opportunity available in the marketplace today. What we're saying is, look, working alongside with Ribbon, we portray an agnostic perspective. So yes, if you want to go Teams, great. If you want WebEx, great. If you want Zoom, go great. More importantly, for some of the partners we have out there today, keep their existing base in terms of maintenance is really important. Do you know what? We can connect that existing phone system, which you guys are absolutely still claiming the maintenance on an annual basis, and connect them to the UC world by either putting an SBC or a gateway in situ. So we're retaining a margin level out there. But the market is evolving. And also we're seeing partners evolve around us. Now, we call Microsoft the dark art. We have assistance, and certainly through Nuvola, they can help you on this journey if you're not there yet. If you're on the journey, we can take you the step further. And what does that look like from an architectural piece? Because when we start talking about how we deploy all of this and where our solutions fit, it really starts getting a point, well, does this work for me? How do I do that? So I'm going to hand over to Rob, and he's going to talk you through the next slides.
Yeah, thanks, Andrew. Yeah, so what we have here is really sort of jumping into the big picture view, because as Andrew said, we know that we have the cloud UCaaS and CCaaS providers out there, but for a lot of enterprise, especially in the large enterprise space, they will have an extensive architecture already in place, and they've basically got to get from A to B. They've got to get from where they are today into either generally initially a hybrid environment, and then possibly at some point in the future some sort of pure cloud play. But if you look at this example of a typical enterprise architecture, you've generally got like a dual data center approach, and within our portfolio we've got a number of different SBC appliances and virtualized SBCs that fit into different deployment scenarios. But this is where you have your HQ site, say with a contact center infrastructure, which might have call recording applications connected to that for compliance recording and maybe sentiment analysis, getting into the talking about all the AI kind of space again. But yeah, so if you put out the core of the network with connectivity into your PSTN SIP service provider, into that we then drop in the connectivity to either one or more of the UCaaS players or CCaaS players. So connect those into the core of the enterprise network. And then I guess what you can generally have at the edge of the network is with your branch offices, maybe manufacturing sites, a variety of different types of locations. There could be a need to retain exist sort of legacy interfaces. So analog and digital interfaces, maybe to a legacy PBX that you're going to replace at a later date, or you might need to support, say, some FXS ports for lift emergency phones, alarm systems. There's multiple applications for the legacy interfaces. With our portfolio, we've got a range of different appliances that fit into this use case, and it's a case of really pick the one that best fits the scenario, giving you the the best combination of functionality and price point to fulfill that need. So in building this out if you go back into the core of the network, we've got a number of different applications. Right in the middle there, you see the Ribbon Application Management Platform, abbreviated to RAMP. That's our centralized network management application. So with this, gives you a single pane of glass into all of your SBCs and gateways within your network, and that could be then used to improve your operational visibility and management capability. But critically and importantly, the other role that the RAMP platform plays is essentially as an anchor point for licensing in some of our pooled licensing models. So it's a key component in the overall architecture. So you also have what we call the PSX, which is a centralized policy and routing engine. So the more complex your network gets, you don't want to be administering lots of individual endpoints or SBC nodes from a routing perspective. So you can centralize all of that using the PSX application. And the last piece in this layer is talking about automation, because all of our SBCs support APIs which can be used for provisioning. So using that mechanism, you can achieve automation of your network expansion and then move some changes. But where it gets really interesting today is adding in our analytics capability. So our product's called Ribbon Analytics, essentially does what it says in the tin. But there's two main sides to that. Firstly, it's around operational management, visibility of the network, really improving your capability to quickly get to root cause analysis, because it's gathering data from all of the SBCs within the network and gives you a historical database. So then, if somebody has a fault case, you've already got the data to go back and look through and actually find out exactly what was going on at that particular point in time. And then the other side of this, all around security and detecting fraudulent activity. So we'll go into more detail on that later. But just to round this out, the message around this is that for our SBCs and applications, we can deploy them into all the main flavors of public and private cloud infrastructure. So you see all the different flavors there on the slide. And then the other piece is looking at from a services point of view. Now, Nuvola, obviously a key distributor from this perspective in terms of delivering services, but ultimately from Nuvola's perspective, they'll have third line support from us as Ribbon, when it gets down to the software level. So that's just running out, really building the big picture. This is a typical kind of architecture that we deliver into our customers. So the main building blocks for that are the SBCs within our portfolio. I'm not going to dwell too long on this, but suffice to say, essentially at the top level, we've got our core SBCs, which are highly scalable, very, very high levels of feature set. So any kind of scenario essentially involving SIP protocol, pretty much you can deliver with the core SBCs. Then we have the enterprise edge layer, which, as I described on the previous slide, is more about providing gateway interfaces where those are required, and also fitting into the smaller type branch deployment requirements. And then at the bottom layer, we call the service provider edge SBCs, the EdgeMark appliances. These are more multifunctional. They have a great strength in the fact that they have a zero-touch provisioning capability. So you can send these out to site as soon as you can get them connected to the internet, connected to a WAN connection. Then they'll contact the management server, download a configuration, get them up and running very, very quickly with the minimum sort of technical skill set on site, and then give you an ongoing management and monitoring capability. So they fit into sort of multiple site deployment scenarios very, very nicely. So what you've seen there is a reference along the top here to certification with the key UCaaS players. Now, we've been talking about, you know, the whole concept of, you know, how you actually get into the cloud, and the main UCaaS players, you know, Microsoft, Cisco, Zoom, etc. They all have different flavors of connectivity for PSTN services into their cloud infrastructures. So on the left-hand side, you see the carrier cloud peering arrangements, if you like. So Teams with Operator Connect is probably the most well-known. WebEx have a similar capability called Cloud Connect, and you know, Zoom have Provider Exchange. So that's a direct cloud-to-cloud interconnect between a service provider and, you know, the UCaaS cloud. But that's really, it is a service provider play. It's not really a partner play. But on the right-hand side of the slide, what you see is all of the enterprise access to local connectivity options. So direct routing with Teams, with the best well-known again, but local gateway with WebEx, premises peering with Zoom, and SIP-Link with Google Voice. So all of our SBCs.
I think if I can jump in there, Rob, sorry, just very quickly. I think what's really interesting is that, you know, where that opportunity is, and Rob, you know, just put the slide up there, is certainly on that side. If you're looking at Operator Connect and Cloud Connect and Provider Exchange solutions, these are solutions provided by the carriers predominantly. What does that mean for you as a partner? It simply means that you have no skin in the game. Okay, it is literally like handing your customer over to them. I know Gamma have a solution around that. You literally, where do you provide the additional support services and additional revenue? And really, you know, Rob was right in that slide. On the right hand side, you're talking about all that partner base, sorry, all that product portfolio applies into that. And looking at the slide here, it really is about the potential of loss of the customer, isn't it, Rob?
Absolutely, yeah. So really, you know, from a partner perspective, you know, linking something you were saying earlier, Andrew, about, you know, retaining the customer, you know, providing that hybrid scenario, you know, retaining the PBX support revenues for, you know, during that transition period. Essentially, the solutions like, you know, direct routing, Google SIP-Link, you know, WebEx local gateway. Yeah, that's really the partner play where you can get the most value from it, and ultimately deliver the most flexible solution for the customer. So we talked a bit about, you know, the interconnection methods to the UCaaS providers, and obviously talked a lot about SBCs, but, you know, what is the role of an SBC? It is primarily about security. It's security at a network level, and it's security specifically around the SIP protocol. There's other functions as well. It provides interoperability capability between disparate systems. You know, that's why we have to have the, you know, the manufacturer specific certified interops, because, you know, everyone's got their own slightly different you know, implementations of the SIP protocol. They've got different routing capabilities that they want to better support. But essentially, the SBC is a security product. It always has been. You know, it is around securing the border of the network from the enterprise perspective, from the outside. So it is essentially you know, a voice firewall, specialized voice firewall. But it does a great job at that network layer and at the SIP protocol layer. But, you know, there are, when you move up the stack into the you know, higher up the application level, essentially we're talking about voice traffic, but there is actually a missing part of the puzzle here from the security perspective when you start to look at, you know, the high levels of the stack. So what I'm actually talking about here, what we're talking about is essentially the, you know, all of the sort of social engineering type attacks that occur using voice. So what we're talking about is things like, well, you've got telephony denial of service, which is essentially just, you know, high volumes of traffic. Say you've got a contact center and somebody's just, you know, occupying all of your, you know, your inbound call capability. So that's a sort of basic brute force kind of denial of service attack. But what we see the prevalence of now is rising significantly is all of the type of scams, like, for example, voice phishing. We've got things like a Wangiri attack, which is lots of, you know, short duration calls, just leaving missed call notifications on, you know, people's phones and soft clients within the enterprise, hoping that somebody's going to call them back. So all of these are actually happening. They're all valid voice calls. There's nothing wrong with it in terms of the SIP protocol, but it's what's actually going on in the speech path. It's what's actually been said to the end user and what the intention is of those calls. And so this is, as I said, it is a growing area. So I mean, we've got some information here, statistics from the CFCA, the Communications Full Control Association. So this is global. We've got, there's about, I think it's about 130 different organizations, service providers that are part of the CFCA. And this is their report from 2021. And the thing that stands out really is you look at the figures in terms of the US dollar value here. This is in billions. So at the top of the list there in 2021, we had, spoofing of basically, CLI and ANI, $2.63 billion of fraud in that space. It's absolutely huge. Wangiri, I mentioned 2.2 billion. IPv6 hacking was 1.8 billion in 2021, and this is a growing trend, because if we look at the next report that they published, which actually wasn't until 2023, but they said overall fraud in the telecom space had gone up by 12%. If you like, the categories moved around a bit in terms of which was at the top of the list, but suffice to say, it's still growing, it's still being exploited. So it's it's a growing area, and it's still a problem. So
I think Rob, this is all quite new. Sorry, Rob. This is all quite new into the UC space, where the bad actors really have changed their direction. Where historically it was all about the data path, because they could get out through the router, etc. And the firewall companies have collaborated and got very clever. And more importantly is they've looked and said, actually, this is potentially too hard. So they've looked at new avenues in the way that bad actors do, and thought, okay, this could be through an SBC, because we can open up a port and out we go, or we change different trends. We're also seeing a lot of deep fake, aren't we, Rob? Certainly around how they use that deep fake to extract information around credit cards. I believe there was even one complete Teams deep fake not so long ago in Singapore, where a video and voice was portrayed to extract information, was just caught at the very last minute. So they're changing. They're absolutely changing. And from our perspective, is we talk about the UC and how we work with that. I think a great starting point. Now you've scared your customer into going, oh my God, do I go down the UC route? What do I do, and how do I do this? I think a really interesting point, and this is what we took on board, is to say, actually, what do organizations, i.e. enterprises out there, rating the importance of voice fraud? Do they know about it? Are they aware of what the potential business parts are? And it was quite surprising what came back, because they're moving to the cloud, they're moving to UCaaS solutions, they're connecting to potentially carriers who have their own interests in the background, and they go, am I really secure? Is this really working if I want to go down this route? So, in terms of a poll, we asked the question, rate the importance of voice fraud into the overall security strategy. Now, this is obviously the IT leaders, and this is enterprises that were out there, people who are handling the data side. Because again, misconception: the firewall, data firewall, does not protect you against voice fraud. The SBC does to a certain extent, but you need to go a step further into today's work. So we looked at it and we said nearly 80% of those said it was important, of which nearly 50% said it was extremely important. The 3.8 was unsure. Well, I don't know quite where that comes from. But the really interesting point about this, when we asked them again, is we said, look, what have you done about it? And we were very surprised, because only 20% turned around and said they have a full strategy. And what was more interesting is the more we delved into that as well about the full strategy, it really wasn't a full strategy, because they were reliant on a carrier type solution, or they were looking at maybe just the SBC. So we drilled down, and the percentage was a lot less. What does this mean? It means that there is an awareness that if you're going down a UCaaS route somewhere, there is a concern that maybe voice security is at play, or their voice security is at risk. It means that when you're starting to talk about UCaaS solutions, we can now enable you and say, actually, do you know what? We can assist you to take that peace of mind and give you confidence that yes, you can transition and you can move to the cloud. What's more interesting is the opportunity. And we look at this and say, do you know what? Okay, it's more than 80% actually in terms of an opportunity piece around transitioning to UCaaS, and maybe even those who already have, approaching them and saying, actually, do you realize how secure you are right now? If you're just relying on a carrier, you may need to think again, because within a carrier, it's great. They protect from attacks from outside, but they don't protect attacks from the inside. Once you're in, you're in. Now, a bad actor can simply take a trial trunk and they're in that network. So that's the point to bear in mind. How does this work? What does the analytical platform do? You know, and we're talking about advancement on the SBC. We're talking about the opportunity. So, Rob, I'm going to hand this to you.
Yeah, thanks, Andrew. Yeah, so what analytics does, a Ribbon Analytics application, is it gathers data from the SBCs within a network. So the two primary data sources are basically the call detail records, the CDRs, and also trace log files. So the trace log files go down to a very, very low level of detail, so they actually have all of the signaling data contained within those. And that all goes into essentially a big, well, it's a big data database. It's actually a Hadoop database in the back end of analytics. So that all goes into the database back end, and then what the analytics application does is allows you to then display that information, visualize it in different ways by building, different dashboard views, tables, etc., in a very, very flexible manner. And the use case for this is essentially two sides. One around from an operational perspective. So as we see on the slide here, around traffic visibility, so helping you with looking at, how much traffic is going on the network in different points of the network, potentially, which nodes are close to reaching capacity. Are you over-dimensioned in terms of trunks in a particular location, or are you under-dimensioned? You're about to hit your limit. It'll show you all of those trends because it's looking at historical data over time. But it also allows you to look at things like, quality of experience as well. The SBC CDRs have a lot of info on them in terms of, packet loss, round trip time, jitter, etc. So from that, you can actually see, and you can make sure that your customers and your users within the network are actually getting the quality experience that they expect. So you can keep an eye on those parameters. Now, one of the things that, well, the capabilities that analytics has is the ability to better enrich that CDR data that's coming in. You say, well, why would you want to do that? What's the benefit? And what it's about, especially from a partner and managed service provider perspective, is what it allows us to do is import a set of data. So you can say, well, this number range coming in is associated with customer A, and this number range is associated with customer B, etc. And that then makes the display of the data so much easier to interpret. It could be number ranges, it could be trunk groups, etc. It's a bit like the concept within Teams where, from an emergency calling perspective, you've got IP address ranges associated with a specific location, and you can tell where someone is. It's a similar sort of concept. Now, the other aspect of analytics is around its machine learning capabilities. So in terms of monitoring for potential fraudulent activity, it's all about looking at behavioral patterns. And obviously, the larger this grows, you don't want to be manually administering that. You can set fixed thresholds on different parameters, saying you shouldn't expect more than, say, 2,000 calls a day on this particular trunk. Well, that's one approach, but it doesn't scale. So what analytics has is a machine learning capability that allows you to it'll basically self-train, looking at the usual peaks and troughs of traffic through the day, and it establishes what that baseline is, and then you can set the limits to say if it's say 5%, 10% outside of that, then you get it to raise an alert. And this is where it gets really useful. So the alerts can be sent out through text message, email, outbound traps to a larger overarching network management platform. So you can integrate analytics into your overall IT management strategy. But the other capability is around the automated mitigation process. So you can put in rules to say that when an anomaly is detected, that you can actually shut down, say, a particular calling number or IP address within the network And you could just do it on one node if that's where you saw it. Or you could say, well, I've got a global network and I actually want to mitigate against that particular threat across my whole network. And analytics will do that in conjunction with the SBCs. So kind of to give you a flavor of what analytics can achieve. And so the key point here is that it's all around, you know, behavioral analysis. That's really how analytics can help with all of these new types of threats. It's all about spotting those patterns. So just to wrap up on analytics, so you can see some bit small screenshots, but essentially from an operational perspective, it gives you the ability to build, you know, dashboards that show you, key parameters around your network. So how it's performing, what the quality of experience is for the customer, and even to produce, customer specific reports. And this is an interesting perspective from a managed service provider, because we've got the capability to, you can integrate, if you like, whatever your customer facing portal is. If you've identified your customers, you authenticated them, then there's a method of actually linking that into the analytics platform so that you could then give your end customers the ability to view the performance of their network. So you can provide them with reports looking at the quality of experience and if you like the quantitative metrics within their network, and simply from the fraud application as well. So from the security and fraud perspective, we've got the ability to monitor based on fixed rules, machine learning based rules, and then provide that automated mitigation capability back into your network if you so desire. And the last piece of this is something that we're working on within Ribbon, which is all around improving the automation space, and that's a traffic learning capability that's within analytics. So this links into a product that is fairly new to market for us called Leap, which is all around automating the upgrade and test processes of SBCs within a customer's network. So it's all around reducing operational cost and delivering that in the most risk-free manner possible. So this is an application set that will continue to be developed by Ribbon. So we continue to add new applications, and I guess the key point there as well is that it is customizable. There's a lot of customization that can be applied to the analytics platform.
I think, Rob, it's a good point to look at this and say, well, actually, it's not just about the SBC, because the Ribbon portfolio, as we've seen, covers a lot about the integration to Teams and how we connect that to the outside world, or maybe how we're the glue to stick maybe something to something else. So it could be an 8x8 Ring Central to a Teams, it could be an Alcatel to a Teams, it could be a Zoom to a Avaya, etc. And I think what's nice is that we look at this and say, actually, within the portfolio, we've got something that you can upsell on a very valid point where the market is ready for it. And that's a really key point. And when we look forward as well, is how do we provide those solutions in terms of a commercial basis? And it's quite interesting because we listen to our partners, and historically we've sold hardware on a capex basis. Great, I'm sure all of you are used to this. Sell something, go back on an annual visit. Thank you very much. Need your support contract, and away you go. Those hardware solutions then moved into a virtualized environment. So again, sold as a capex, sold one-off, take the support contract, move on. But certainly even pre-pandemic, our partners were asking us, actually, we need to change some of these, because our customers are asking us more for an as a service, a reoccurring revenue type scenario for the partner themselves. And they were saying, actually, I want to charge maybe on a seat level, I want to charge on a channel level. How can you help us? So we created something called Network Infrastructure Service, which simply means we turn the commercials around. It means that the partner still has skin in the game, because they put it in their own compute or the customer's compute. They do their own service and support. So this is still where the partner is fully engaged. It allows them to drive those solutions, whether there's a pre-sales element, a design element, a post-sales element, all involved, which the partner gains revenue from, drives the service, but on a monthly reoccurring basis. So we've taken that into an OpEx. And then for those partners who really just didn't have that Microsoft experience, we created something called a software as a service. It's a fully automated, portal-driven service that is based on a subscription per user per month, very low touch, goes through a portal, 4 screens, bring your own license, bring your own carrier, and away you go. Okay, so we've turned all these options, not just around the SBCs, but we're driving it even further. What does that mean today when we look at a partner? Okay, we understand that the partners are evolving and evolving very fast. So we turn around and say, well, actually, could this change the way I operate? Well, we're starting to see more of a broker model come from our partners where they're the trusted vendor. They're the consulting partner in all of this for their enterprises they work with. You know, a consultation maybe had around which carrier to choose. What UC service would you recommend? Actually, can you help me with managed services here? And actually, do I go into the cloud? And all of a sudden, the partner finds himself in that brokerage model and saying, actually, I can advise you here. I can provide a solution here. What we're saying is we as Ribbon can help you in that position. Now, what could that look like? And quite simply, where the opportunity day sits is around the Ribbon solutions. We can help you on your journey. And first and foremost is if we look at something from Ribbon and we turn around and say, okay, great. Out of our portfolio, what do we look within our portfolio? Let's choose something that's applicable for the customer. Could this be as a service? We're going to provide them the support to choose, the support after it goes in as well. There's revenue to be made there. We look at the portfolio products. Okay, fantastic. We're supplying those portfolio products. If we're looking virtualized, if we're looking hardware-based, and quite honestly, the majority of our solutions now are more moving into the virtualized environment because we're seeing enterprises acknowledge that there is a requirement to move to the cloud. Okay, could be a private cloud, could be a public cloud. Then, obviously, with the UC platforms, there's certainly revenue to be made around that. You could choose whichever one you want. The point being is that Ribbon, through our solutions, would be referred to as the glue. I think Rob referred to it earlier on. We stick everything together. You could choose to go Cisco. You could go Teams if you wanted. You could go 8x8. In fact, you could use all of them at the same time if you wanted. Entirely up to you. Okay, which allows for a great migration story. It's not a case, actually, Mr. Customer, I've got to cut you off here. Let's work them all together until you decide which one you want to use. Maybe have a few trial licenses over a period of time, how that works. And then we talk about how that then develops in terms of video rooms, in terms of handsets, in terms of how that all works. You could put the headsets attached onto that as well. So where in real terms does the opportunity lie for you as a partner today? Well, you can buy it or you can rent it. Okay. And really interesting point here is that we call it the 1+1 because just by the simple implementation of a Ribbon SBC, you're potentially selling the one part of the UCAS, the one part of room systems, the one part of headsets, the one part of handsets, and it's a 1+1 as well. So suddenly we see that wholesale escalate, whilst also with the possibility of keeping their existing PBX, if there is one, in play on premise to keep that support revenue going. Now, you might turn around and say, well, that's fantastic. I want to jump on this journey. Well, great. Once you're on the journey, what's next? What can we help you with? Well, we call it the enhanced Ribbon partner journey. And again, we talk about that portfolio because you're trained, you're doing it yourselves, you're earning revenue in that terms of implementation, or even allowing Nuvola to help you get into that sort of journey position. And then we talk about where's the value as we talk about RAMP. A RAMP is the managed alerting. So you can now start to move into more of a managed services partner. Okay, you're not just simply providing kit solutions. You're now saying, actually, I can provide you a managed service because I can do, the alarm reporting. I can give you a bit more of an enhanced service. I can start looking at how we license some of this as well in terms of how we pool licenses. Maybe I want to own the license as a partner and then I sell it out. We can do all of this. Then we can move on to things like the analytics and running that conversation. This is an upsell. Actually, Mr. Customer, I'm now on a monthly basis going to give you an enhanced support service. I'm going to show you how your health of your UC is performing. So, for example, Teams, we can see from a Teams perspective, right the way down to the handset, right the way to the carrier, provide them a report and say, Mr. Customer, there you go. This is how we're helping you, not only within your service and support around your UC, but more importantly, potentially securing that as well. Because the next element of that is around fraud. We call it the protect piece. It's enhancing those services. Imagine going to your customer saying, great, okay, you want to connect to 8x8 etc. No problem at all, you go do that. Now, and then you go back a week later or 2 weeks later, actually, we do an enhanced support service, which provides you, that could be £50 more a month. Yeah, I'll take that because it's incredible what they get for that. Then we can turn around to the customer and say, well, actually, have we really thought about the fraud elements? Because we can start to drive that. Now, we have partners who thought it was unimaginable to do stuff like this. They're getting £250 to £500 a month just for a fraud solution, because the enterprises are already in a mindset that they've got to protect themselves. What does that mean as well? It protects you as a partner, because if there is any element of fraud, the first place the customer's going to come looking is you as the provider. So that's something to bear in mind as well. So what I want to really reiterate is as a whole scenario within Ribbon, there's opportunities everywhere if we look right. We're going to host a number of webinars. We've actually got a day within our offices in Maidenhead in conjunction with Nuvola in April. Speak to the Nuvola guys, they'll send you the invites, etc. Please come along. We're going more depth on different things within that. And then really just to sum up where we sit today. So it's about getting sticky with your customers. We understand the marketplace out there is tough. It's very competitive. How do you keep your customer from moving? Well, quite simply, by being innovative, by driving those solutions, by offering flexible solutions in terms of how you guide them. Be agnostic around the UC. Yes, great. If you own the SBC, you own the customer. Okay, and that's really how that works, because everything's got to connect to that at some stage. Okay, it's a really open approach that you would go to market, be consultative, drive the customer, and they'll always come back to you. And more importantly is as we look at in through that marketplace that we talk about, you know, look at your existing partner base. Do they need to transition? Look at becoming maybe your journey evolving into an MSP, because you can now provide hosted solutions, managed solutions, how that works. You know, look at that and say, well, actually, do I have customer selling teams today? Yes, great. Well, let's maybe talk enhancement. It's a world of opportunity around there. And certainly with Ribbon, we're here to help you make the most of your market. And really, in summation, I'd just like to say thank you very much, really, for your time today. And I think, Mark, you've got some questions, have you? Or I haven't seen any drop up yet.
Andrew, funny you should mention that. I did have some questions. So just before we go into the questions, there's a number of things that have come out in that. One of the reasons why Nuvola is partnered and it's a true partnership with Ribbon is what Andrew was saying at the end is, as resellers, integrators, you found it difficult over the few years where the vendors, the UCaaS vendors typically, are coming in and basically building the relationship directly with the end user and taking ownership of the end users, taking away your value. We see the Ribbon product as absolutely fundamentally key to for you guys to be able to provide, take ownership or take control back on your customers. And by using all the tools that we've just talked about, that gives you the ability, by putting in Ribbon technology, embedding it into your customer's environment, you then have got the ability, you're able to manage their environment. You're able to understand and work out how the data and information is going through and secured, etc., etc. So we really do passionately believe that Ribbon technology is really a great technology as a tool for you as our resellers to go into your end users. The event that Andrew mentioned is actually on the 15th of May. It's not April, I think, and it's going to be a hybrid event. It's going to be actually in MOP, and so if you want to physically, go to MOP and see the wonderful, architecture that the MOP buildings provide, or if you want to, sit at home or sit in the office, you can come remotely. So it's going to be a hybrid event. So let's quickly we're running out of time, but let's just quickly pick some of the questions. One of the questions is, if I wanted to trial an SBC, how do I go about that? What can I do?
But there's a number of ways you can do that. Probably the easiest way is you can very easily get yourself hands-on to one of our SWE Edge SBCs, the virtualized Edge SBC. If you go to the Azure Marketplace, you'll find it in there, so you can spin up an instance in the Azure Marketplace and you'll get basically 5 sessions licensed for 30 days. So this gives you a minimum number of session capabilities. You can do some testing, experimentation yourself. So you can do that in Azure, you can do it in AWS. There is an on-premises version as well. You need we need to help you to get a copy of the software for that. But yeah, there's an easy mechanism for doing that. If you need something outside of that, then yeah, please reach out to us, and yeah, we'll help you out.
So Cisco was mentioned. Has Ribbon got certification for Cisco WebEx?
I think that's a really important one. Yes, we do have for both the carrier peering and enterprise peering. I think what's good to note as well, so this means that yes, we'll connect to Cisco WebEx, but what's important to note is also that Cisco have chosen Ribbon as being the partner to work with the supply of their global contact center, their WebEx contact center. So we now also empower Cisco to deliver their services out to their partners. So that's something key there as well. We're quite well distributed. And also, I think, we didn't talk about it, things like Zoom. So Zoom, Ring Central, 8x8, they all run on Ribbon. So they are Ribbon connectability. So why would you not have Ribbon at the core, Ribbon at UC, Ribbon at your premise? It makes sense.
So sorry, Mark's going to say the interoperability guides for those are actually on the ribboncommunications.com website. So you go on there and search for interoperability, then you'll find this is essentially the search page where you can look at all of the certified interops.
Yeah, and Nuvola, as you know, has got a very strong relationship with Ring Central and 8x8 and a number of other of the partners that you've mentioned as well. So Ribbon Analytics, can it be used with other SBCs or systems?
Yeah, do you want to say, Andrew? So if you notice, but there is basically we've got integrations already out of the box with Oracle SBCs and with Cisco Call Manager. So those are 2 alternative data sources you can take. Oh, sorry, and also Microsoft Teams. Don't forget Teams. You can connect directly into a Teams tenant. It uses the Graph APIs. It's on a per tenant basis, but you can suck that. There's a rich data set you can bring from Teams back into analytics and then view that on your overall network.
And am I right, Robin, in saying that if there was a larger state of a certain type of device, that it can be professional services can build an interface or a thing? Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. There is capability to build essentially a customized third-party, interop from an analytics perspective. I mean, you need some professional services from our side to do that, but yes, it's possible, absolutely possible.
And one of the other, I mean, there's a number of other questions, but the last one: can an SBC support Teams and Zoom simultaneously?
Yep, no problem. I mean, essentially, it's another. Well, in that case, it's another encrypted trunk going out to another vendor. You can load multiple certificates onto individual SBCs, so you can have multiple connections going at the same time.
And Mark, that really enhances the story about the transitioning of an enterprise, but more importantly, from a consultative perspective of the partner saying, well, if you haven't made your mind up, take a look at both, run both simultaneously maybe, and see which one you prefer. And that from a consultative piece really works well, because it's a confused world out there, and we can help you with that.
Yeah, we found that a large enterprise, they may have multiple different platforms, multiple different collaboration tools, etc., and even UCAS providers. So, and again, this goes back to what you mentioned about the glue. Yeah, we're actually just we're overrunning now, but very, very quickly. So I really appreciate everyone. I'm just looking at the attendees, and we've still got nearly everyone that joined at the early on. Appreciate your time. If you've got any more questions, or if we will be contacting you after this. But if you need to contact us. It's www.nuvoladistribution.com. If you already have an account or a customer, a partner of ours, then please contact your account manager. And I really appreciate your time, and hopefully we will talk to you more about Ribbon in the future. Thank you.
And thank you, everybody. Thank you. Enjoy your day. Take care.
The webinar has ended. Thank you for joining. Goodbye.